So my name is Hee-sun Lee. I was born in Seoul, Korea in 1983. Was adopted after 4 months and adopted by a Chinese American family. Came to Staten Island, New York. Been living here ever since. And through the years, just got into music, got into hip hop. Been rapping since probably like 2001. Rapping for a while, so just trying to make a difference through my music, through my lyrics, through my message, and the most difficult moment I would say in my life was probably, I would say, the middle towards the end of high school. I was around 15 years old, and so high school, not to get totally my whole life story here, but I didn't really grow up around a lot of Korean people as when I was younger, so I didn't really have an understanding or a grasp on my identity and being a Korean American. And then when I got to high school, there were just so many Koreans in my high school. I mean, it was just mind-blowing. I've never seen this many in my life, and it was a great thing because I could get to know and connect with my race, but it was also very challenging for me because it also showed a lot of the differences that I had with people of my own race. And it was something I never experienced before because I never thought about it. But then in high school, it made me think about the things that I was lacking, the things that I didn't have because I was adopted. It's things I couldn't control, nobody's fault. It's just what the circumstances were. And so and at that time, I was also so this was a sophomore in high school. My grandmother, who lived with me, was also very sick. So she was going through a lot, and I was going through a lot. And then, after she died, there was a lot of hopeless times, a lot of like self-reflecting, what's going on in my life, and my family, they're Chinese American. My grandmother was actually, she wasn't really American. I guess she only spoke mainly Chinese. I learned some Chinese from her. So culturally, like, she was a staple in my family because she was really what brought the Chinese culture to us because we were so Americanized. So when we lost her, I felt like I lost a part of me, even though I'm not biologically Chinese, but because I grew, that's my grandmother, adoptive grandmother, whatever. But I grew up knowing her and identifying with her. And then when I lost her, it was like a big blow for me. And then so because I lost her and I was dealing with a lot of my own identity issues as a Korean, I just felt like I didn't know who I was anymore. Like, I didn't, culturally, racially, biologically, a lot of things were going on with me. And then it showed in how I acted. My mom could tell I was very isolated. There were things that I was going through that she couldn't help me with, and it wasn't her fault. I was totally lost in school, didn't know what I wanted, and it was just kind of spiraling downhill. And I guess that's kind of the time when I turned everything around and I realized, you can either take two roads here. You could get worse and you cannot try and figure out what's going on with you, or you can do something about it. So that's kind of where I was, and that's how it kind of went on to my next stage of my life.
Everybody's got a blank page, a story they're writing today, a wall that they're climbing. You can carry the past on your shoulders.
So going off of what I was saying, when I was in high school and I had a lot of questions about my identity and where I came from and being Korean. So yeah, my high school, a lot of Koreans there. And there was something in me that drew me to wanting to know, obviously because I'm Korean, but there are a lot of Korean adoptees out there who don't mingle with other Koreans. Maybe they don't have the exposure or whatever. I have an adoptive brother. Well, he's my brother. And he never really made friends with Koreans. But for some reason, I had this thing where I wanted to make friends with them. So I went out of my way to get to know a lot of Koreans in my high school. And a lot of them were super friendly. A lot of them embraced me. We became friends. They're still my friends to this day. We're actually still friends, Then there were just other situations, and I really don't blame anybody. It's just, a lot of it is ignorance. People just don't know how to act around somebody who's different or an adoptee. So I went to my friend, and this is a church, which is kind of on the sad side, but I went with my friend, and she went to a Korean church, and this guy came up to me and he said something to me in Korean, and I just looked around, and then my friend saved me, and she said to him in Korean, "Oh, she's adopted, she doesn't understand." And then he looked at me and he just mumbled something. It wasn't even like he was, not even like a nice gesture, not a nice face. He just looked mad, and he walked away. So I asked my friend, what did he say? And she said she was hesitant to tell me, but then she was like, yeah, he said something like, if you're Korean, you should be able to speak Korean. Like, there's no excuse.
Take it easy, losing breath, don't see me dying, Jesus. Don't leave me, looking around, trying to catch my breath. Scared this moment will cause my death.
Towards the end of high school, when I felt like culturally lost and everything, I always was a writer. I always used to write stories when I was little. And I started, I got into hip hop like in the middle of high school, and I would listen to these rappers cursing their brains out, but I would pick the rappers that I liked and I would memorize all of their lyrics, whether they were cursing or not. And I would say, oh my God, I love this. I love rapping. I love the beat. I love the flow and everything. It was just something drew me to hip hop. And then I said to myself one day, I'm going to write my own lyrics, So I took a piece of paper and I started writing anything that came to my head. And they were all positive, encouraging things. I never said to myself, hey, I want to be a girl who talks about sex and drugs and stuff like that. That never occurred to me to do that. I always wanted to give like messages to people. So through my own healing, I was able to write music that helped me and would help other people.
Steal my heart, they never will. No God's will, I'm standing still. Feel his presence, no one feels. Yeah, every part of me, he's a conqueror. He told me don't quit, there's no.
But being a hip hop artist who's a female, being a hip hop artist who's Asian, it's definitely, there's not a lot of people in my lane, which can be great, and it could also be very difficult because they won't take you seriously. They'll look at you and they'll be like, okay, she's female and she's Korean, what can she do? But so it works both ways, but it drives me because I'm like, you know what, I'm doing this. I don't have a lot of people around me who are doing it too. None of my friends are into this stuff. A lot of times there's silence when we're talking because we're very different, but that kind of makes me want to do this more because I feel like I need to. I need to give a message out to females, especially females, that it doesn't matter, what you feel that you want to do and you think that you shouldn't do it because nobody else is doing it. What matters is if you're passionate about it, if you love what you do, if it's going to help people, you do it. And if you see more females doing it, you become encouraged to do it. My friend in high school, she was Korean. She was very Koreanized. Like, she spoke Korean a lot. Like, to me, that was super Korean, She just, I don't even remember how it happened, but she came up to me and she was like, you want to go to church with me? And at that time, I grew up in a very white church with my parents. I went to church. It was a Lutheran, very traditional hymnal book, and they do confirmations there. Once I was confirmed, I was out of there. So this was like 13 years old. And after I was 13, like, I never went back to church. I thought it was like, whew, I'm out of there type of thing, So when I got into high school and she was asking me to go to church with her, I'm like, no, And she's like, okay, I'm going to keep asking you. And I'm like, whatever, she came off as annoying. But she literally kept asking me. So this was in September. I forgot the year, like 1998 or I don't know, something like that. And from September to April, she kept asking me. It wasn't every day, but it was a lot. She kept asking me. And you know what? In April, I finally said I'll go. I don't know what made me, just because maybe I felt bad for her. I think I was going through something. My grandmother was sick at that time. So maybe there was something just pulling me to go to church. But anyway, I said, fine, I'll go. She said there was a revival she had. I went that Saturday when she had the revival, and they were doing an altar call. And I went up and I was crying my eyes out. I said, my grandmother's sick. I think she's gonna die. I'm so sad. And I remember her youth pastor, he looked at me with like the most honest, caring eyes, and he was like, what's your grandmother's name? He prayed for her. I cried more. I just felt so different after that, And then the next day I went back to church on Sunday, and there was like a 2-day revival. I went again. I don't know the next time I went, but I went with my boyfriend, which is now my husband, and we kind of got saved together. Like, I went and they prayed over me. The youth group prayed over me. I was in a circle and I just got saved. And I was like, I can't believe this is happening, And I just remember it was because of my friend who just never gave up. She just kept asking me. And I use that example in my life today. So even when things are so low or you just really don't think something great is going to happen, like, she just kept asking me. Like, she probably didn't even think I would say yes. I don't know. Like, she didn't care. Like, she just kept going. And I think that is a message to everyone, whether you're Christian or not, that it may look like it's not going to happen, but if you stay positive and you keep doing it, it'll happen, So I use that a lot. And she moved to Korea. Yeah, I didn't really get to see her after that, but I talked to her a little bit on Facebook. I really want to tell her thank you, because she was the changing point in my life, because she never gave up on me when I gave up on me, and because of that, I was able to look through a lot of my issues and say, you know what, you can do this. There is a reason why God placed this girl in your life and told her to keep asking you to go to church. So God loves you. God does not give up on you, so you can't give up on yourself. So I use that for a lot of the things that I go through, even today, that God, there's a reason, that God wanted me. So no matter what I'm going through, I know I got it. My favorite Bible verse is Romans 12, verse 2, and it talks about do not conform to the patterns or standards of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And I think that goes perfectly with everything that I strive to do in my life. And it's about don't conform. Don't do what everybody else is doing just because everybody else is doing it. Kind of have your own mind. Talk to God. Hear what His plans and His visions and His calling is in your life. And if this is the road that He has placed you on, you go down it. It may not, again, be what everybody else is doing. You may question it, like, God, really? Like, you want me to do this? Nobody is here with me. Like, what's going on? But if you trust in what God is saying and you keep reading that scripture over and over, and He's clearly telling us to not conform to the patterns of this world, you have to transform all of your thoughts, your thinking, your way of thinking. Society has, wherever you live, there's a way that society teaches you how to act and how to live. Like I said, being in a rat race and just doing what everybody else is doing. We have to chase after money. We have to chase after this in order to be happy. If you change your mindset on that, not saying that we don't need money in life to survive, we do, but to chase after it every day to the point where you're becoming very unhappy because that's all your life has come to, but if you change your mindset on that and you see that there's more important things in this world, then I think you're going to be a happier person. Me being an artist, a struggling artist, an independent artist, I don't make all the money in the world. I want to be seen by so many more people. I want a lot of doors to open for me. But, right now I'm not at that place, but I know that God has called me to do this, and the amount of things that I have accomplished over the years as an artist has made it all worth it. And to know that I'm chasing after something and I'm going after something that is important, that can change people, that can help people, I feel like is worth more, than all the money that you can possibly make, So that's why I find it very important to stick to that Bible verse. It kind of is my motto in life, to not follow what other people are doing just for the sake of following them, but to really change your thought pattern on how you think and how you see the world, and just really focus on what God is telling you to do. And I'm telling you, it makes a world of a difference when you think like that. So yeah,